There is a major issue with John Cena's retirement tour, and nobody's really talking about it. Plus, I believe that the Lucha Brothers are finally set to reunite in WWE. What is up, wrestling fans? I'm Allison here at Wrestling Republic, and I have analysed last night's episode of Monday Night Raw. Here are my 5 key findings. In at number 5, are we heading towards the New Day versus the Lucha Brothers? Because I think we might just be, and I feel like a kid on Christmas right now because one of my favourite tag teams are finally set to be back together. For weeks, the New Day have been campaigning to try and get rid of the Mexican Destroyer, as they like to call it, but last night after Penta defeated Kofi, they decided to take Penta out and injure him backstage, so it's clear that he needs backup. Meanwhile, Rey Fenix is over on SmackDown, and Andrade's just been released from the company, so clearly there's no clear direction for him right now either. But there is one easy solution, and that is to reunite the two real-life brothers, and I would love to see this. Now, of course, there is a little bit of an issue because Rey Fenix, like I said, is on SmackDown, but let's face it, that's just not really an issue nowadays, is it? They'll either just move them over and say nothing, or like make up some type of trade or some new rule, I don't know. They kind of change it as they go along, but quite frankly, I don't care right now, because the Raw Tag Team division after WrestleMania was honestly in the mud. I mean, it was the New Day, and the rest of the division was basically non-existent. Meanwhile, the SmackDown Tag Team division has been on fire for like almost a year now, right? So, now that we got the Usos back, if we're set to get the Lucha Brothers as well, suddenly Raw is starting to also become on nearly the same level as SmackDown. Could tag team wrestling finally start to be making a comeback? I really hope so. In at number 4, neither Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch or CM Punk and AJ Lee have ever lost a tag team match together. I have loved this feud so far, and after WrestlePalooza, I wouldn't be surprised if both teams need to take time off to rest their backs after carrying Raw the last couple of weeks. From the interactions between CM Punk and Becky Lynch to the return of AJ Lee, this feud has been near perfect. I've been loving it. But I am a little bit surprised they haven't mentioned the fact that both teams are undefeated. Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins are 3-0 as a tag team. Meanwhile, AJ Lee and CM Punk are 2-0. And maybe it's just because I'm a little bit of a sucker for stats, but I'm really shocked they haven't mentioned this. This would be a lovely little bit of a nugget to say on commentary during one of these promos to really add another layer to it. Or even try and plant the seeds like, if they lose, could this cause a dent in their relationship? They've never faced a loss together. Something like that, a little bit over the top, but just adds a little bit more importance to this feud. In at number 3, will this El Grande Americano gimmick actually help anyone long term? Don't get me wrong, that Spider-Man meme last night was absolutely hilarious with the 3 El Grande Americanos. But I can't help but sit here and just think to myself, is this actually going to help any of these guys long term? Because it was a little bit different with Chad Gable. He was already an established star. He's already had a Hall of Fame worthy career. It was just another story arc in his career. But now that it's seemingly Ludwig Kaiser, Pete Dunne, and I think Tyler Bate, I don't know. I mean, Ludwig Kaiser is doing such a good job that I think maybe you could argue that they'll give him a push after this because of the amazing work he's done during it. But as for Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne, I mean, these guys in NXT UK felt like they were going to be future main event stars. They're good enough to be future main event stars, but since they got to the main roster, quite frankly, they felt directionless. Nothing's really happened with them. It's never really felt like there's been a plan, and there's clearly been no real hope for them to become main eventers. And especially with Pete Dunne, that really surprises me. But before we get into the top 2 key findings, please do me a huge favor and leave a like and subscribe on this video and leave a comment down below with your thoughts on Monday Night Raw. It really does help me out massively, guys. Thank you so much. In at number 2, I love the way this new Bayley gimmick was introduced on Raw. I'm glad they didn't do the personality change in one segment, but instead did it over 2 segments with about half an hour apart between the two. It eases the character into the audience. It doesn't just chuck her in at the deep end and suddenly she's changing character every other second, which is something which I do think long term is probably going to happen. But for right now, having her be super positive 1 minute and then go back to her heelish self a few minutes later, I think that is the way to go about this. Ease the audience into it. And I understand some people are saying it's cringy, and yes it is. But at the end of the day, I don't know if these people have just started watching WWE this week, but sports entertainment has always been cringy at times. As long as it's not a story which is meant to be serious, but is coming across as cringy, then it's absolutely fine. And this Bayley storyline, it is clearly meant to be very sports entertainment-y, right? That is how it's meant to come across. So I'm not worried about it feeling a little bit cringe, but most importantly, I'm excited to see where it goes. Because like I've said over the past year, Bayley has just kind of felt a little bit stale. I mean, it's not really been a character for her at all, has there? So at least now there is something, and I'm undoubtedly more interested in her now than I was this time last year. And in at number 1, there is a major issue with John Cena's retirement tour, and not really anybody's talking about it. And no, I'm not talking about the heel run, because look, we all know that was a mistake. It hasn't aged well at all, but there were outside factors. But what I'm talking about is one of the main purposes of a retirement tour is to help set up the next generation of wrestlers once you leave. And despite popular belief, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to lose every match or anything like that, right? You can win and still help elevate somebody. But Cena's not really elevated anybody this entire retirement tour. I mean, maybe you can argue Cody, right? But he was already a main event star, and quite frankly, I didn't think that program actually helped Cody in any way, shape, or form. And with only 6 dates left now, and presumably 3 of those being matches, they're not really going to have time to do any more proper storylines with any at least decent builds. So in other words, I'm actually not convinced he can elevate anybody significantly from here. I mean, the one which really stands out to me is he should have feuded with Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship, a title he has never won. I mean, that writes itself, plus you'd be setting Dominic Mysterio up as a main eventer in the future as well. Quite frankly, I would have done that at WrestlePalooza. You would have had 3 or 4 John Cena dates to really build it up. And like I said, from here, all the matches are basically going to have 1 date. It really, really pains me to say this, but I do think they have just really horrifically mucked up this retirement tour. And you know what, guys? This isn't one of my key findings, but I'm going to give you guys an extra one today. Because truthfully, I'm not interested in this Jey Uso and LA Knight storyline. Because honestly, I don't think there's a chance in hell either one of them turns heel. And it doesn't help they're in this Braun and Braun main event cycle, the same thing every single week. But even still, these two are 2 of WWE's biggest merch sellers, and even Stevie Wonder can see that this is heading towards a War Games match, The Vision versus Team CM Punk. So I'm struggling to kind of suspend my disbelief and really get into this storyline. And I don't know on this one if this is just a me problem, because it honestly might be. Maybe some people are getting into it, maybe some people are invested, but to me, I'm just not, and I'm kind of finding it a little bit boring if I'm being completely honest. Like, it's the main event program on Raw, and genuinely it's the storyline I'm the least interested in. But that does bring us to the end of today's episode of Allison Analysis, guys. If you did enjoy, please make sure to hit that like button if you haven't already, and I will see you guys on on Saturday, to talk about SmackDown. Got there eventually. See you guys then. Peace. Actually, I take that back. There will not be an Allison Analysis for SmackDown this week because I forgot about All Out and WrestlePalooza. There will be an Allison Analysis on Sunday instead, but not one on Saturday, very simply because, I don't think anybody would have time to watch it before All Out and WrestlePalooza. But I'll see you guys on Sunday. Peace!